confused, aren't you? Frightened. That's all right. I can help you. Who is this? I am a doctor. Now you must listen to me. You have lost your memory. There was an experiment. Something went wrong. Your memory was erased. Do you understand me?
No, I don't understand. What the hell is going on here?
Just listen. There are people coming for you, even as we speak. You must not let them find you. You must leave now. Hello?
Good day, mate. How about some shrimp on the barbie? I mean humans. This is Spoilers.
Oh, good lord.
There you go.
I know, isn't that painfully awful? I love cringe comedy.
I wasn't prepared for how painfully awful. Like, you said it was awful, but...
It's bad. But hello, everybody.
Let's move past it.
I am your host, Stevie. As I'll be commenting later on throughout the pod, I am in so much pain right now. But today's a very special day, and we have a special guest. Today we are recording the 1998 classic, actually, that Matrix ripped off, Dark City. And we also have a special guest with us. Round of applause for everybody, Brother Ellis.
Hey now.
Hey now.
How's everyone doing?
Listen to that accent. That's beautiful.
Yeah, Ellis, where are you recording from right now?
Stevie, is that the accent you were trying to do?
No. This is an Australian film, so I had to roll out the Australian accent.
It's good effort, man. Good effort. I am Ellis, recording from the UK, Newcastle. Well, near Newcastle, Darlington.
I'm never going to get over that. Can you say something for me, Ellis? Can you say, I still love you, Keely?
I still love you, Keely.
Oh my god, it's amazing. He's Jamie Tart, everyone.
Definitely Eastus. And, Brother Ellis, when we were talking, I know that you're a true fan of Spoilers. We thank you for supporting us. I want to plug your YouTube stream, Total Movie Recall, as well. But this feels like a 4-year redemption arc in the making for podcasting with people from the UK. So I'm pretty excited about this. It can't go
Whatever
as badly
do you mean, Pap?
as it did.
Yeah, what do you mean, Pappy?
Listen to the Swords and Shields episode. I think we talk about it there. What's done is done. Number 250.
Ellis, I have to ask, though, before we get into the movie, are you, like, an actual, like, Newcastle fan?
No, so this is interesting. Before we were recording, I heard you talk about Chelsea.
Yes.
I'm from the UK, but I'm not a sports guy. Like football, it goes straight over my head, man.
Gotcha.
It's no good coming to me.
Yes. Actually, I relate to Ellis on so many levels. Like,
He's the English Korey.
American football Ellis, I'm the exact same way. Like, I don't understand the game. I don't give a shit about it. I just want to collect Power Rangers toys. That's all I want, you know?
That's all I want to do, collect old Bandai toys and Batman Forever toys and Batman and Robin toys.
Yep.
Basket hoops, though, Korey is all about. So I'll give you credit for that, Korey.
True. Just the Lakers, though.
I do like some basketball. It's not bad, yeah.
I like White Men Can't Jump.
Hell yeah, dude. We should do a podcast on it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into this movie. Let's go from west to east. And my question to you guys is, have you ever seen this movie before? And just kind of what, like, your initial thoughts are, like, with the movie.
Ooh, I like it.
I'm the most west or west, but this is Korey Kylo Ren memes. I'm in Simi Valley, California. It's interesting that you're asking about the movie as the opener, because usually it's something just tangentially related to the movie.
I know.
This is very direct,
Yeah,
right?
this is, straight at you.
Let's see. I have not seen it before yesterday. Thoughts? I don't want to say too much yet until we start going into it. I'll say this movie has a great sense of style. This movie is very unique. I'm kind of surprised that I've never seen it, because I feel like this is something that I would have gotten my friends to watch had I known about it at the time that it came out, like I did with some other maybe similar movies. More to come on that, but yeah, I'll just say that I'm new to this movie.
This is Pappy, recording from Kalamazoo, Michigan, like the Prima song, Next Must Weastus. We should also say, this is a Brother Ellis Patreon pick. So, super excited, and thank you for your patronage. Didn't know anything about this movie, and I know this might be antithetical to spoilers, but if you haven't seen this movie, I would recommend going in as cold as possible. The only thing I knew, Stevie, is you'd been planting in my head that it was like The Matrix ripped this movie off. The
100%.
Matrix ripped this movie off.
100%.
You've been saying that since we got the pick a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So I was expecting that. I was definitely looking for similarities to The Matrix when I watched it.
It's all there.
There's a lot going on with it.
It's all there.
This is also evidence, too, that like I've been really proud of our patrons. I think every pick that we've gotten, whether or not I've liked the movie, a la Southland Tales, or the opposite end, this, they're very well suited for conversation. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited to get into the mechanics of the Dark City.
Yeah, I feel like Southland Tales is like one of the few pods we ever apologized to the person afterwards. That's how much we hated it. Yeah.
What a pile of shit.
You wanted to give them a refund.
Yeah.
I talked you out of it.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
I'm still blown away that people praise that movie online. Like, I want to argue with them every time I see it.
I'll send you the thread next time I see it. It's extensive. Am I the most next week? Yeah, I'd have to
Yeah.
be. Okay. This is your host, Stevie. I watched this movie 2 years ago. I think I saw like a YouTube, like I think it was like from What Culture. They may have like mentioned this movie in passing about like great movies you've never seen. And I was like, huh, that looks like kind of cool. And as I'm watching it unfold, I'm like, wow, this is like really like close to The Matrix. And I was like, wow, this came out before The Matrix. And then I'm looking at it, reading trivia on it, and I was like, whoa, you know, they even shared the same sets and pretty much the exact same story and a lot of similar beats. And it's extremely similar, Pap. And I don't believe in coincidences when it comes to stuff like that. But I was happy to watch it for a second time, even though I threw up with about 30 minutes left. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this movie. I actually really like this movie.
How are you feeling now? What's the current status of your tummy?
Between like 1 and 10, I'm at like a 4.8 or a 5.
Manageable.
Yeah, manageable. Yeah, I'm getting through it.
Jordan flu game of a podcast. Right
Dude,
now.
I'm going to throw down 37 with the flu. You know it.
When the marimba rhythms start to play, dance with me, make me sway, like a lazy ocean hugs the shore. Hold me close, sway me more.
Stevie, I want to ask you something. Like, this is not an uncommon thing, I think, with movies in America, at least. Maybe everywhere. I don't know. I just know the movies that we get, obviously. But in terms of American releases, major ones, there seems to be like two that are very similar that
The
come
rule
out.
of two, they always come out within 6 months of each other. Always.
Okay, that's it. This was, I think,
Yeah.
a little bit longer. This was over a year, right?
Yep.
So, is it fair to say that The Matrix ripped this off, or like were they making the movies at the same time and one happened to come out earlier? You know what I mean?
Here's what, man. Here's what I don't know because obviously I wasn't there, but in my opinion, probably what happened was Dark City is a script that probably got floated around for a very long time, and as I was getting floated around or made, you know, The Matrix, the Wachowskis, who knows, sisters probably were like, hey, we got this script too. And someone was like, that's eerily close to Dark City. That's like coming out shortly. And the Wachowskis went to their computer programs and did a proof of concept and said, but look what we can do with it. And that's what kind of probably got it greenlit. Because this movie, it's not like Dark City was a huge like box office smash success.
I think the script for this film was kicking about for about 9 years beforehand, and it got like passed about between different writers, I think, until it ended up with Alex Proyas. So I think Warner Brothers, somewhere down the line, definitely have laid their eyes on this script.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a New Line production as well, this movie, which I think is like owned by Warner Brothers. I might be wrong, but I think it's a partner company. I think there's no way that the coincidences are too much. I think they'd
It's
definitely
really-
have seen. Yeah, totally.
This is according to Slash Film. When Dark City came out, the Wachowskis did not panic while working on The Matrix. They did say they saw it and hired many of the same technicians to create the look of The Matrix. but they say they were working on the Matrix during the time, and it's pretty inevitable. And this is, according to Slash Film, it would be inevitable that they would share the same talent, being such similar stories. But it's sort of the illusionist prestige thing, right?
Yeah,
You know,
the White House down, Olympus has fallen thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bugs Life, ants.
They were both filmed in Australia as well, which I don't like. They've used the same sets as like they borrowed a lot of sets from Dark City to use on the Matrix.
And I'm sorry, but like, same thing too. You can't start off this movie with like a phone call with like rushing zoom in sequences, like the same exact same way the Matrix does. Like, you can't tell me that the Wachowskis didn't read this. You just can't.
But there's that one shot of the phone hanging from the phone line.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? It looks exactly like it's from the Matrix. Like, that almost feels like that's more of like an overt allusion to this, right? Like, maybe they knew that it was similar. Like, are they trying to be sneaky about ripping it off? I don't really think
You think
so.
it was
I think
an
it's more of like,
homage to a movie that no one saw?
probably. The Wachowskis saw it, according to Slash Film. Also, I don't think Brother Ellis finished introducing himself.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh yeah, sorry. This is Brother Ellis recording from Darlington, UK. I first saw this film about a year ago, a bit longer. It was, ironically, it was when I was doing my research into the new Matrix film, and I was just on the Reddit threads, like looking to spoil the film for myself, as you do. But I was looking through the comments, and this film got mentioned so many times with like the similarities to it. And I've seen it on a lot of YouTube videos of 10 films you've never seen before. But like Korey, if I'd have seen this back in the day when I was younger, this is exactly the sort of film that I would have loved and probably would still love today. I'm like a sucker for like the set design of it and the look of the film. Like I'll be the polar opposite to like Brett on this one. I love the fact that it's dark throughout the full movie.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting. It's got some really interesting ideas that it chucks out there. It's interesting ideas and not necessarily the most amazing film. Whereas something like The Matrix, you're sort of like coasted through by the action and the special effects, could you say? But I'd make an argument that the special effects in Dark City are parallel, not parallel as in not the CGI elements, like that's another kettle of fish, but the practical like sets, and I think that it's amazing in Dark City. I think it's its highest compliment I can give it. It's the thing that it's batting on all cylinders with.
I do want to take back what I said pre-pod, where I said that the special effects were good in this movie, because now that we've been talking about The Matrix, it's pretty amazing, though, that like the mind waves that come out of what's the main
Strangers
character's name? John Murdoch.
John Murdoch.
No,
John Murdoch.
And the Strangers, like that those mind waves came out in a movie that came out a year before like the bullet time.
Yeah, that is,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are not even in the same league of like technology. So it's but it does, the production design, Alice, like you said, is phenomenal.
I'm a big fan of matte paintings. There's a lot of matte paintings in this.
Okay, so let's kind of dive into this movie. Pap, I have a question for you. I mean, so the cut that you watched,
Oh yeah.
did it have the Kiefer Sutherland monologue in the beginning or no?
Yeah, another movie I was going to compare this to is Blade Runner, but this is
Yeah.
obviously much less boring than Blade Runner.
100%.
Get the fuck out of here.
But it also has the same multiple cuts. And Ellis DM'd me yesterday and said, which cut am I watching? And I didn't even know that there was multiple cuts of this movie. I think I watched the director's cut, which did not have that monologue.
God damn it. I thought we were all watching the theatrical cut.
Right, Korey.
This is Mallrats again.
Korey, I watched the theatrical cut. I instantly regretted saying watch the theatrical cut, because in hindsight, now, like, do you feel like the introduction and the exposition right at the start that Kiefer Sutherland gives, do you feel like that pretty much ruined the whole movie?
It ruins the whole movie.
Well, it's worthless, I think, to me. Because in a movie where everything that you see is so alien and it's such an involved mystery and it's unfolding as the story goes along, I think having the opening narration doesn't work because I don't fucking remember it.
Yeah.
He says all these things that are like very complex and very specific to this world that they've created. And it is revealed later, but I didn't remember it. I didn't remember a goddamn thing he said. As soon as I heard him giving the opening narration, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that again after I've seen the movie. And I did.
First, there was darkness. Then came the strangers. They were a race as old as time itself. They had mastered the ultimate technology, the ability to alter physical reality by will alone. They called this ability tuning. But they were dying. Their civilization was in decline. And so they abandoned their world, seeking a cure for their own mortality. Their endless journey brought them to a small blue world in the farthest corner of the galaxy. Our world. Here they thought they had finally found what they had been searching for.
That sounds fucking insane because in the director's cut, that's why I said go in as blind as you can, because the way that the information unfolds is like what makes this movie for me. Because I had no idea what was happening, or like, is this guy really a killer? The whole who are the strangers, it like carries so much like tension and interest throughout the first like hour or so of this movie. So it's just like he just comes out and explains the exact mechanics of the strangers and everything. Is that what
sort
happens
of
there?
The one thing I remembered is that they're an alien presence, so
Yeah.
I knew to expect an alien presence, but honestly that was like one of the few things I took away from the intro. It's a lot. It's too heavy for opening text. It truly is.
Yeah, I think Alex Proyas was like 100% against that opening exposition. He really didn't want that in the film. And I can see why. That exposition basically gets repeated about 70 minutes in the film when Kiefer Sutherland, William Hurt, and Rufus Sewell are all in the canal boat. Kiefer Sutherland's character, Dr. Schreiber, pretty much gives him the whole lowdown.
Which is the perfect time for that to come up, right? Because you're already invested in it. You've kind of figured out a couple things, and then we're going to get some answers before the climax at the quote unquote beach. So yeah, that sounds like a terrible studio decision. So the cut I watched was an hour 51. Is the theatrical cut longer?
I think there's only about 10 minutes in it, like difference wise. I know one of the extra scenes in the director's cut is there's a scene of John Murdoch, and he looks at his palm and he's got the spiral on his palm. Does anyone
Very Logan's Run.
Yeah, does anyone know what the spiral represented?
Got me.
Was the director a huge Donnie Darko fan?
Do you have to read the graphic novel to find out what it meant?
This does feel like it's based off a graphic novel, to be fair. It has got that sort of feel about it.
Yeah, if you said it was, I would not be surprised, that's for sure. But it's not, right? It's a
No.
wholly original story.
Yeah.
But to go back to the spiral thing, aren't his fingerprints a spiral? Isn't that what that is too?
Oh, yeah. I think you are right, yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if it like represented anything necessarily. Maybe like the infinite loop of their memories. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you're that far off that, to be honest, Pappy.
Time is a flat circle.
Did you like John Murdoch, Stevie?
Rufus Sewell?
Feel like I'm living out someone else's nightmare. What happened to me? Why was I seeing a doctor?
I had an affair. You were angry at me. The police are looking for you.
I know. Saw the papers. Killers stalk city streetwalkers. I was with one of those women before he came here tonight.
I don't understand.
I met her outside an automat. I guess I wanted to test myself. I wanted to know if I had it in me to do those things. Maybe I have lost my mind, but whoever I am, I'm still me, and I'm not a killer.
Some of the performances are a little weird in this movie. It's hard to explain. Like, I don't know if I like Kiefer Sutherland.
I don't like Kiefer Sutherland.
too much.
I have never liked Kiefer Sutherland. I do like Rufus Sewell, though. I honestly wish he was in more movies. I also think this movie kind of hurt him for being a leading man, like in America for a long time. But I also think, like, to go back to like the opening like monologue from Kiefer Sutherland or not, whether it's theatrical or directorial cuts, I think walking out of a theater was way more of a flex in the 80s and 90s than it is today. I think the sunk cost fallacy is so much higher today, like for viewing audiences in a theater, than it was back in the day, especially in the late 90s.
What do you mean by that?
I think because of twists and it's got to get better from here, audiences are so much more likely to stay around for a movie than they were back in the 80s and 90s. I truly believe that. I think walkouts were so much more prevalent in those 2 decades than they were like pretty much anything following The Sixth Sense. That's my take on it. Is pretty much everybody's just waiting for it to get better, or just wait for the great reveal and it all makes sense. And sometimes that never comes. And so I think the studio probably said to themselves, if we don't explain this off the bat, people are going to get confused or bored and just walk out.
But it's we talk about this all the time, like trusting your audience. In both the cases of Blade Runner and Dark City, exposition, voiceover, filling in those gaps takes away from the movie both times. You know what I mean? Like,
100%.
all I want to do is see Dark City when I'm watching this movie. You know what I mean? Because the set design, the cinematography are so cool. Like, I don't really need it explained because I'm already into it. I'm already curious about this world that you've built.
So that reminds me of Blade Runner. That's how I feel when I'm watching that movie. That I don't really need a lot of story. I'm mostly there to live in the environment and the world.
So Ellis, real quick, side note before I comment on the movie.
Go on.
Who won the debate? Pappy or Steve?
Oh my god, I've got about 45 different recordings I did to send you in. I just didn't send any in. I'd have to listen to it again, although I did listen to it like 4 times, that argument, to get a good evaluation. But I don't know. I'd have to listen to it again. I don't want to be put on the spot.
You can say Steve. It's okay.
Steve is a beast, though. He's got that guy's got some knowledge, man. He's a Preflon of knowledge in his head. But Pappy, you made a good argument, though. I can't remember it, but it was good. I think it was good.
I do have the belt, so I think that speaks for itself. I demolished Steve in that debate. It's okay. You don't have to worry about hurting Steve's feelings.
I kind of want to ride on what Ellis was saying, though, about this movie, Dark City. It feels a lot of ways, Ellis, like Batman 89 in terms of its style, right?
It does, and I think that's
a lot
why
of fog.
A lot of steam, a lot of fog, a lot of wet roads. I don't know. I'm a nightmare for sometimes I can go style over substance, and like I'll totally admit that. And even though I feel a little bit like that with this movie, I think there is some amazing ideas in this movie. It just, I don't know, it's a very like noir feeling type film. As far as like, I was just going to bring up another point in regards to like everyone's acting in like the first hour of the film. It's very like spaced out. Would you not agree? Like everyone's like, when I first watched it, like Jennifer Connelly and Rufus Sewell, like I was a bit, there's not much emotion in the first hour because these people have been programmed. Like, I don't want to get too far into the movie and just spoil it straight away, but well, I will. It's spoilers.
This is spoilers.
Yeah, you can.
But the fact that they're almost programmed to like live these lives, they're basically getting experimented on. So when like they first wake up and everyone's a bit blasé, like I first initially thought William Hurt wasn't a very good detective, but as the story progresses along, William Hurt 2 weeks ago within that world might not have been a detective. He might have been a musician. And I think there's like, it gives you the nod that this guy was someone else, because he's got the accordion the whole way through the film that keeps popping in and out of scenes.
I think William Hurt is perfectly cast in this movie because all the humans in this movie, all the natural human beings, have had their memory wiped and replanted and reprogrammed. So they're like generally kind of like confused and dull, right? Like it's almost like they're dulled down as people. They're not fully there. And William Hurt, I've always like called him like the most boring big name actor. And he kind of is. He has some good
You're not
performance.
wrong.
I don't want to knock the man
not
too
wrong.
heavily, you know. Rest in peace. But that kind of performance, I think, works well for what's going on in the movie. I think it's perfectly planted in that way.
The beginning felt a little jumpy to me too. Like it's the scenes are very quick in the dialogue. There's a lot of like cuts when the dialogue is happening, like in between the characters and stuff. That might have just been too because I was getting a lot of information at once and trying to figure it out. But I thought they said that he left his wallet at the laundromat, and then I was super confused as to why they had all this food in the laundromat when they got there. I was like, oh, automat, which that's a pretty cool, like, there's even like the production design of like that, right? Because it's like, if it doesn't feel like a movie set in the 50s necessarily, but that feels like more of like an old school, like dining establishment thing.
Looked like Gore Verbinski would have approved of it.
It's just such a cool place to have. Yeah, very Gore Verbinski.
I mean, it's also like Tim Burton-esque. And to go back to like Batman 1989, when I was watching this movie for a long time, I was trying to figure out what era it's set in. It's in this like vague like time era. I was like, is this the 80s? It's definitely not the 90s, but it could be any decade before the 80s as well. It could be the 70s or the 60s or the 50s. Like the technology and the layout of things is like kept pretty vague, and you know, it's called Dark City. It's a very dark movie, so we don't fully get to see everything in this movie. A lot of times what we see on screen is just like the characters illuminated in a dark alley.
In the version that I saw, that's explained later by Kiefer Sutherland. This might be in the theatrical cut too, but he said that they were pulling from all different time periods and stuff, they being the strangers, the aliens who abducted these people.
Okay.
And it's cool. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Pat. Finish your thought, then I'll change it up to mine.
Well, and as cool as the ideas and the themes are of like the memory being wiped and, you know, what is a human experience, like the motivation of the aliens is pretty lame. Like they want a human soul. What does that even? What's happening there?
I think it's stated that they're dying, though, isn't it? That's what it is. It's about getting the soul to prolong their life. They're dying as a race. I don't know whether that comes across very well, though.
Oh, okay, that makes way more sense. That's way different than what I thought.
How is Men in Blacking people and wiping their memories going to get you a soul?
Yeah, why not just study them?
Well, I think that's like they're looking in the wrong place, aren't they? They're looking in the mind.
Yeah,
and that's not.
And they should be using an anal probe, like in all the other movies.
Okay, that makes way more sense than what I thought was happening. Okay. See, in my opinion, which is probably the wrong one, I thought because it could only move as a hive, there was like no one that was able to like steer them in another direction. Only like one way they were going, and the soul would have done that. Okay, that makes way more sense.
But I think you're like, it's like the soul, it gives them individuality.
Right.
Isn't that kind of, they are a hive mind now, but when the one guy gets the soul, he's like, oh, this is way better, having my own memories.
So like, what if they found religion, you know, and that was the way that they determined that the soul exists is through Jesus or something? That would have been a totally different movie.
Shrimp Jesus?
Shrimp Jesus, yeah, man.
The Christ-like character of the movie, Shrimp Jesus.
Korey, I have a question for you. This movie, I mean, depending on kind of where, you know, credits start, credits end, say probably between like 105, 110 minutes. And this movie also has like 100 reveals every minute. Did this movie feel like well paced to you, or did it just feel extremely long?
It didn't feel long to me. I'll say that. It's not a long movie. Didn't feel long. There are good reveals throughout the runtime of this movie that are handled in a good way. With one exception, I think. There's a moment that Ellis talked about where they're like on the little rowboat, and it's our three main guys. It's, Kiefer Sutherland, who's constantly out of breath in this movie. John Murdoch, the main guy, and then William Hurt, the inspector guy. And the doctor, Kiefer Sutherland, kind of reveals like a lot of exposition in one moment. Like there's a single scene where a ton of exposition is given out. And generally, I just am not a fan of that. Like, all right, here's the time to verbally explain a lot of stuff.
The jumps, yeah.
So what I think that could have been like spread throughout the movie a little bit better. I think it would have been nice if he had met John more throughout the movie, because they do meet a couple times. But I think each time they met, if a little piece was revealed, and then another piece, and another piece, it would have been better that way.
What is this?
A rather crude experiment designed to further my studies.
I don't understand. You say you're my husband's doctor, but he never mentioned you to me.
The truth is, Mrs. Murdoch, John has been coming to see me for quite some time. He had been grappling with feelings of betrayal stemming from our marital difficulties.
Why is Kiefer Sutherland out of breath every time he's talking in this movie? His performance is bad.
Yeah, it is bad.
It's a weird choice, I think.
I think they originally wanted to go for like an older actor. They did have someone in mind, but I can't remember who it was now. But yeah, Kiefer Sutherland is not great in this at all.
I think he would be fine if it wasn't that particular choice being made, right? Like if he just delivered his lines like he did in Young Guns, like as a normal Kiefer Sutherland,
Yeah.
as opposed to the I just ran a mile Kiefer Sutherland, would have been better.
What about, instead of Kiefer Sutherland, we cast Christopher Lloyd as...
Ooh.
That could have been fun.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. Bit on the nose, but...
Doc. Very different vibe. Sorry, Stevie, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, I mean, is Kiefer Sutherland a good actor?
His dad is.
His dad is, but is Kiefer Sutherland a good actor?
So I think he's okay. Like I like him in The Lost Boys, but I think I like the film more than I like his acting.
Is Jennifer Connelly a good actress?
No.
Why not?
No. I'll put it this way, and I mean this in a very nice way. I think if you're going to have a really cool concept with not great actors, a noir is the best thing you can do. Because you don't have to show a lot of emotion throughout noir. You just don't.
You know who is a great actor? Bruce Spence, who plays the tall guy. He's like sneaky 4 or 5 movie club now, I think, with Dark City. The Mouth of Sauron.
Out to Sauron.
Gyrocaptor guy.
Handsy guy from Mad Max 2.
I did not know he was the mouth of Sauron. Wow.
He's some guy in Star Wars.
Ellis, I have a question for you. What do you make of our antagonists in this movie, the strangers?
The Cenobites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They dress like that.
Yeah, man.
They dress like they're headed to a BDSM nightclub.
They look like they're going to some sketchy... They look like they're going to the Merovingians nightclub in the third Matrix film. That's where they're going. What do I think about these guys? I think they're pretty cool as antagonists. I think that's one of the main draws of the film on an outside level. Like if looking at a trailer or whatever, you'd see these guys and you'd go, who the hell are these guys? I want to know more about them. I think Richard O'Brien's pretty class. I think he's pretty good in everything I've seen him in. I haven't seen him in that much. I know him from Rocky Horror Picture Show. He's awesome in that. But he hosted Crystal Maze over here in the UK for a lot of years as well, back in the day.
He hosted what?
The Crystal Maze. It was like a TV show where it was like, you'd go on, like, perform challenges in mazes and stuff and get cash. It's like pretty old. I think it was from like late 90s.
Would they get shocked?
They get shocked.
Shocked?
No. Well, maybe. It was the 90s. I don't know.
This isn't a Japanese game show,
I know.
Stevie.
I know.
But yeah, I don't know how I feel about them, about the head guy. I think he was a bit bland of a character. You know who he reminded me of? He looked a bit like Darth Vader in the OG Star Wars without the helmet. That's what he reminded me.
Do you think that the shrimp reveal was too soon?
Way too soon.
I feel like the shrimp reveal happened like so quickly. Like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
That should just be at the end.
Definitely.
At the very end.
And it's not. I think they could have been a bit more creative with the alien design. The space shrimp doesn't do it for me at all.
It's funny how like a good alien design can really like
make or break,
add a lot or take away a lot.
Yeah.
Cronenberg, that shit.
Yeah.
Well, just even like compare like the animation on that to the animation in The Matrix when they suck that thing out of Neo's belly button. You know, at the beginning of the first Matrix.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's night and day difference. This looks cartoonish compared to that. I was gonna say though, Stevie, on the look of the aliens, what I do like is the variety of sizes of people who are the aliens, right? They have like little kids who are there, but they also have that the big tall one.
Yeah.
Played by Bruce Spence. So yeah, it's just a cool look, like when they're kind of coming up in a gang, and it's just like this motley crew.
Yeah, I like how they take that the small stranger out with them on patrol. I like that he's there as the big guns.
One thing that was somewhat disappointing to me, I don't know about you guys, but for a thing with an infinite amount of explanation throughout the movie and subplots, I was really hoping that like the strangers like wouldn't have been able to like been in their host body like forever. Like eventually they would have started like decompose, or like their inner shell would have started to break through their outer shell, which would have caused them to like go and do different memory things throughout time. And I just thought like them being able to stay in the same bodies the entire time was just kind of boring.
They also look stupid when they fly.
Yes.
They fly now? I thought, it's funny you said they look like Darth Vader without the helmet. My note was, and this is one of my few notes, is that they all kind of look like the singer of Disturbed. And they for those like new metal fans of the 2000s who understand that reference. And they make a lot of insect noises. And then the kid stranger that comes along with him, of course, like he's like the craziest one, right? Like that was a little like predictable and lame to me. I was like, oh yeah, the kid's gonna do something crazy. And of course, like at one point when the hero's like hanging off a ledge and the kid comes up to him, instead of like stabbing his hand, he leans down and he bites his hand because he's like the crazy one.
We gotta bite her!
I appreciated that. I loved it.
Sorry, I'm trying to Photoshop David Drainman from Disturbed with a little fedora on his head. I mean, I'll do that after the podcast.
Yeah. Stevie, did you ever watch Star Trek?
I mean, you know me. I've brought it up literally 0 times on spoilers, so...
This is going to be the real test if Ellis is the UK Kylo. Ellis, do you watch Star Trek?
No, I don't.
Oh my god.
Doppelganger deconfirmed.
Well, he's from Europe. He probably watched Doctor Who or some shit, right?
I watched a bit of Doctor Who just when the David Tennant was on. Oh no, who was prior to David Tennant?
Chris something?
Eccleston or something.
Yeah. I don't even watch that show, and I know that. But this movie does kind of feel like a fucked up, twisted version of a Star Trek episode, where like you're kind of like thrown in the mix at the beginning, and it's like a mystery. There's a few Star Trek episodes like this,
like Quantum Leap. Yeah.
Or one of the characters from the episode or from the crew of Star Trek is like somewhere else the whole episode, and they don't know why they're there, and it turns out they're being experimented on by aliens. Or sometimes it takes place on the ship, but there's a lot of like premises in Star Trek where an outside alien force that are, you know, kind of like evil or at least uncaring about humans in some way are doing these messed up experiments, and then the course of the show is about our characters discovering that, and that's kind of what we get here. One episode that comes to mind is Allegiance and Next Generation.
Stevie, I have a question for you.
Throw it at me.
Why does John Murdoch, what is the power called?
The one.
Tuning.
But no,
Tuning.
Yeah, he's tuning, yeah.
Why does he get the ability to tune? Because as far as I know, the only thing that's been happening is they're injecting human memories from one human to another. And I think there's like a half-ass like exposition again by Kiefer Sutherland at some point when he's hanging upside down. And he's like, I don't know, they're adapting, they're evolving, life finds a way, don't worry about it. He can just do that now. Like, what about, that doesn't make any sense within the context of the movie.
That's literally in the script for the very question you just asked. Why? And the explanation they give is for plot purposes, and that's that.
Like in The Matrix, it makes sense that Neo is getting kind of like the same abilities as the agents because the Matrix isn't real. And so it's all kind of like the same skill tree they're progressing on. There's no reason that John Murdoch should just start having these powers because he was abducted.
Yeah, there's no reason he should be able to, like... Well, the other thing is, too, if you're going to say something like that, it's like the next step in evolution. Okay, how long have we been there?
Yeah.
Like, how long
Good
have we been
question.
floating on that rock? Like, that's the only way you can even say that. Is like, you know, we've been here for 2,000 years. Maybe there's finally starting to, like... You know, maybe it's finally starting to happen. But, like, this just feels like they've been there for, like, 5 years. Maybe. And, like, it just...
Right.
I mean, it doesn't... You can... It's really half-assed, and it also, I mean, I hate to say this, I love like Rufus Sewell, but the character of John Murdoch, I want to say Murdoch so badly. Yeah, John Murdoch,
John Matlock.
yeah, Murdoch. It just makes him a shitty main character, like because really, he's not really doing much. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he didn't really earn the telekinesis. Okay, cool. He's not, like, really earning to tune. It's not like he, like, had a blip of it happen, and he's trying to master it on his own. It's like, no, he was pretty good at it from the jump. It makes him really uninteresting.
The thing is like, if he is awake during that time when everybody's asleep, right? If that's as far as it went, that would just kind of be plausible enough. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this guy isn't affected by the sleep stuff for whatever reason. And that could have been like...
That should have been our beginning, Pap.
That would have been an
That
amazing
should have been our
beginning.
beginning, is him being awake and everyone else is asleep.
You could do something where Kiefer Sutherland has been like feeding him genes of the aliens or something, right? You know what I
Could
mean? Like
do
he's
that,
trying to have
yeah.
some resistance, something. At least like give it some logic, some rhyme or reason for why it's happening. But I mean, yeah, he can fly. He has telekinesis. It's weird.
At least we get like a half-assed explanation in the Matrix, though. You know what I mean? Like, at least they tell us Neo's a hacker in the beginning. Okay, cool. Like,
he's the one.
yeah, he's the one. A little bit of prophecy. Okay, whatever. You know, but just the fact that John Murdoch's like, oh, hey, I can do it. It really hinders the film, in my opinion.
I'd have bought it more if when John Murdoch, like, when he... So... Basically, he woke up when Kiefer Sutherland was trying to implant memories on him.
Right.
And he mentioned later on that he was the one that woke up. I would have bought it if, when later on in the movie, when we meet Walensky, if he also had tuning abilities as well, because he woke up. So I would have bought it, like the connection there, that if you wake up in this time when the strangers go out when everyone's asleep, altering people's class, altering buildings. If you wake up in that time period, you somehow develop tuning skills.
That's a way better... What you just said is such a good explanation. That works out. That works so much better.
Right. But then, yeah, you do have to have the other guy have
Tuning abilities.
powers, too. Yeah, it reminds me of like the voice in Skyrim. You just kind of like Fus Roda blasting things with his brain. It's really, I don't know. And it looks kind of lame, too. The little sound waves coming
Yeah, it
out.
looks terrible. Like the power telekinesis doesn't look great. It doesn't look great at all. Like that, the end showdown is just, it's pretty laughable, to be fair, but...
Hey, Harry Potter borrowed it directly from it.
It must have been funny while they were filming it on set, right? Because
Dude, I thought that too.
the two guys have to face each other with their foreheads.
Yeah. Now lean forward.
Intense,
Scream?
intense. Okay.
Dude, this movie wouldn't even change that much if you took away the tuning. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that the aliens need a mechanism of creating the Dark City. That's fine. They can just have this power. But if it was like more grounded in like, you know, gunplay, knives, that kind of stuff.
Why are there guns? Why are there guns?
Don't know.
We're on their rock, man. Why are there guns?
So the guns work on the strangers, right? Like some of them die,
Yeah.
I think, from bullets.
I like when they die. It's usually pretty violent. Like the one gets like popped by the buildings coming together and blood splashes everywhere. The other one gets sliced through the head by the billboard.
The first confrontation that John has with the strangers, like early on in the movie, like 20 minutes in, however long it is, he crawls up to like this display of the beach, Pebble Beach, and like one of the strangers follows him and just like falls through the floorboard and dies. It's fucking hilarious. It's like he's Mr. Magoo, but like not lucky, you know? He's just clumsy.
The one thing I wish that was in this movie more is, what was the first guy's name? Was it Mr. Shade? Was that his name?
Mr. Hand.
Was it Mr. Hand? Was he the first one that died?
Oh, maybe not. I think Mr. Hand's Richard O'Brien. I think he's like the main stranger.
What was the first stranger's name? I think it was Mr.
Wall?
Was it?
I don't remember.
I just like it when they say poor Mr. before they announce that someone's died. It makes me laugh so hard.
What is to be done? This man is dangerous.
It is said he is able to tune.
Impossible.
We have seen it with our own eyes. On occasion, the imprinting does not take. They behave erratically when they awaken. We find them wandering like lost children. But this one was different, yes?
What has the doctor to say about this?
He has failed to report in.
And Mr. Quick? No more, Mr. Quick. Mr. Quick, dead. Yes. Poor Mr. Quick.
Why are their names sounding like they should be in like a children's television show? You know what I mean?
Poor
It's like
Mr. Apple.
Mr. Apple, Mr. Red, like Mr. Numbers. Like what? I don't understand that.
I think it's probably because their names are like click sounds. And because like maybe they're trying to adapt to like a human soul. They're trying to like, hey, they have last names like these, and these are words. Let's just give each other word names.
Yeah. I mean, I'm being pretty tough on the movie.
Well, we have to be. It's always fun.
But there are a lot of cool details in that same vein, though, too, right? Like how all of the streets are just like numbers and letters, because of course they would be. They don't need to be anything else. I like that. That's some good attention to detail.
I saw something on IMDb that I did not pick up on in the movie, and that is the presence of Faramir.
Yep.
Did you guys see Faramir in this movie?
Yep.
I need to watch it again, man.
He's like 29th in the IMDb cast.
Who was he? Is
He was a background guy.
some extra?
He's credited as Schreber's assistant, so that's Kiefer Sutherland, I believe. His assistant.
Boromir would have been the main guy, not the assistant.
Mr. Hand.
He would have had more screen time.
Stevie, the end. Did you think of the Truman Show when they walk onto Pebble Beach in that color? We just did a podcast on the Truman Show.
When they go to Shell Beach and this movie's quite influential, I gotta say.
I think this movie's really influential. I think there's been a lot of things that have come after that have borrowed from this film. And a lot of things before it, I suppose, as well, that have influenced it. But I had written down on my 45 pieces of paper and my notes that it does remind me a bit of The Truman Show. Definitely.
The beach and how all of the characters, or it's just not as it seems.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? For the main character.
Also, I don't know if you guys noticed or not thought about it, but this movie had the most 90s move a movie can possibly have, which is, in my opinion, an executive somewhere wanted a theme park ride to be made after this movie. And when they're like going down to the lair of where all the strangers are, I was like, that's a fucking roller coaster. Like, they're literally riding a roller coaster down to the lair right now. An executive somewhere said, let's make a ride, boys. Make it a ride.
It reminded me of the transportation in the OG Mortal Kombat movie. You know, when they get in the ball and it like shifts them around. Like,
Excuse me, that's Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Oh shit, yeah. Oh, the good one.
Yeah.
The good one. The best one, yeah, but I was like, oh, that's a very 90s theme park way of getting from point A to point B, is let's make it a roller coaster.
The dancers may be on the floor, but my eyes will see only you. Only you have that magic technique where we sway, I grow weak. I can hear the sound of our...
Stevie, can I ask a question to the group?
Oh, for sure.
Would you bathe in a bathhouse like Kiefer Sutherland does in this movie? Is that something you would ever do? I'm going to say no. That seems dirty and gross.
Like in life or like in his position?
In your life.
No, that's disgusting, dude. That's absolutely just gross.
Yeah, I'll give that a miss.
It seems like there's going to be a lot of pee in that bath.
Ellis, what about Turkish bath?
Turkish bath.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's from Batman and Robin. It's
Yeah, I'll go for a Turkish bath.
Turkish baths. This looks promising.
It's funny you're talking about like the theme park ride aspect of this movie, and that's like their sophisticated elevator mechanism that they have. But like to me, I was just thinking about this. If you ever go to like a theme park for Halloween time, you know how they erect those mazes that you walk through? Mm-hmm. And they're usually themed after a movie, and there's like, you know, scary creatures that pop out, and it's very, you know, creepy to walk through and stuff. It's meant to scare you, of course. Dark City would be a good one to have at like Universal Studios. I would love that. There's a lot here. Like, you know, they could really bring this aesthetic to life. And that's because Dark City has, like you said early, like great like art direction, right? This place is cool. Like it looks cool. It's filmed in a cool way. There's cool aspects with like the moving buildings and how they like rearrange the city and stuff. Like the visuals in this movie are some of the strongest aspect of it. The concept is cool too. You know, we've been doing a lot of movies with good concepts lately, but
it's true.
The visuals I think stand out stronger because there's maybe like holes in the concept.
Stevie question, why is this movie not more popular? Because it feels like it should be popular. It's a good movie.
Titanic.
Oh, I watched Roger Ebert's review right before this, and he loved this movie. He said it was his favorite of 98.
Yeah.
Yep.
To that point. Yeah.
Yep, Titanic.
When did Titanic come out?
98.
97.
Was it 97?
Yeah. But it was in theaters for a long time.
Because I think this was released when Titanic was still number one. And after this was released, Titanic, like that same weekend, was like still number one at the box office. Like,
dude,
Titanic went on a run.
If you never have, I recommend all listeners going to boxofficemojo.com, go to Titanic, and then just click through like week after week after week, and it's like you click like 26 times, and it's still number one in the box office. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, Titanic was in theaters forever.
That's too bad, though. This movie deserved more love.
Do you think maybe he's in 98 people, like, I know we've just been chatting about how good the effects are, but do you think it might have been dated for, like, mass audiences? Because if we've got The Matrix coming out a year later, it's like you said earlier on, Pappy, like, the effects are, like, astronomically, like, different.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that maybe had an effect on audiences?
I don't know, and I don't know how it was marketed, either, or if it was well marketed at all. I mean, this is like the benchmark's always Jurassic Park, right? And like that's like the best. So, and that was like 5 years before this too. So the technology existed for sure. So I don't know. I would guess it just wasn't marketed super well.
Like, so by today's standards of marketing, I mean, we have Instagram, Facebook, you know, Twitter for do a lot of marketing, you know, word of mouth. Like marketing in the 90s was heavily, you know, ass and seats in the theaters, watching TV and billboards. And I just think, like you guys said, this movie probably wasn't heavily marketed because it's incredibly expensive to market a movie. So I imagine they probably dialed back on that a lot.
I'll just say anecdotally, I don't think it was because I hadn't heard of this movie at the time of its release. And I feel like as a kid at that time, this might have been a movie for me, even though it's rated R. Movies kind of were for kids back then if they're rated R, but also this is the kind of thing I would have liked. I think this movie was probably only known by super fans of The Crow, right? People that loved The Crow at the time, and there was a big fan base of that, were like, oh, okay, the guy that did The Crow is doing this other dark movie.
Yeah, I think that's definitely spot on. I think why wouldn't you go and see this film as well if you did watch The Crow back in the 90s? Crow's a phenomenal film. I'd want to personally see what that director was directing next. And when you look at The Crow, like, there's similarities with The Crow as well in the production design. Very dark, very steamy, wet streets. I think that's all
a lot of alleys.
Yeah, a lot of dark alleys.
Speaking of dark, there's one subplot, Stevie, we haven't really talked about.
The sun!
I was going to say the serial killer subplot, but we can talk about the sun. What about the sun? There's no sun?
Yeah, there's no freaking sun in this movie.
It hurts the space shrimp.
Yeah, it hurts the space shrimp. I mean, they don't have, SP1000 for those guys. But also it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because they're in human bodies. Like, just put on, sunblock. They're in human bodies.
Of all of the species who exist in the universe, why are these space shrimp gravitating ones that are made of 98% water and thrive in the sunlight? Like, they're the two things they don't like.
And not just that, but they tuned it to where they'd have Turkish bathhouses. Like, hey...
Yeah, they could have just not included those.
Yeah, you could have not just included that. Like, the doctor, knows. Like, just don't include it. But go ahead, Pap, about the serial killer aspect. What are you going to ask?
The bloodiness of the way that the prostitutes are found is pretty intense. You know what I mean? And I think that's, Ellis, you mentioned, like, the noir vibes at the beginning. I'm way more interested in, is this guy a killer? Is he not a killer? The question of, was he a killer before his mind got erased, right? Than I am, like, with the telekinesis stuff. I loved that whole investigation and the interplay with the cops. That was a really strong bit of conflict for the movie. But yeah, like I said, the bloodiness of the victims was intense. The swirls that were cut on there. I wasn't expecting that.
First half of the movie is pretty much a murder mystery. Well, that's what you're led to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it opens really strong that way. I do like opening on the erased memory dead. I mean, it sounds like a play from the the 50s, honestly. Waking up, have no idea who you are, dead hooker on the floor, what do I do? But the one thing that bothers me, I was just looking at it, I don't know about you guys, that swinging light, it really bothers me how heavy it was still swinging, like, even after John Murdoch was still walking around. Like, I much rather would have had, like, a fraction of a swing, maybe, with, like, a window open, just to see, like, maybe someone's in there, or maybe it was wind. Like, I was really bothered by how much that light swung.
To me, the light swinging like that is that not because the buildings have been tuned just beforehand? So that building might be 5 stories above from where it initially was.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
The tuning isn't up to code. It's the building's a shaky foundation.
Pap, did you like the class tuning? How a guy could go from, like, a dock worker or a warehouse worker to pretty much being a captain of industry?
I really liked in the beginning. There's a scene where John Murdoch wakes up and he's in a hotel, and the hotel front desk guy totally changes people between when John Murdoch escapes and when the police are investigating later. But the guy has the same memories, right? So he's, like, repeating the conversation, but the guy looks completely different than the original hotel desk guy. But he has the same Hawaiian shirt. So yeah, I thought that, like, yeah, we've talked a lot about the concept. But yeah, it's just super interesting, right? And it's asking questions of, like, if your memories are changing day to day, like, who are you actually? You know what I mean? Like, who are these people really? And they'll never get to know that. It's a very interesting movie.
Yeah, because you're right. He maintains some of, like, his personality, right? Like, he's still kind of gruff, and he still says the same phrases, despite the memories being erased.
Did you like the love story, Stevie?
I'd have been cool with it if it just kind of left it to where neither of these people, like, even, like, feel like they know each other, and just left it at that.
Yeah, I thought it was going to.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it either. It's just one of those things where it's like, I kind of been okay with it if it just dropped it all together, being like, we don't know each other. I think that would have served the story better. It's a really human thing to just... It takes time to get to actually love somebody. And to feel like I don't know you, but love you anyways, really, it's a weird concept to just kind of dive in on. But Korey, you're a big sci-fi guy. In this movie, what happened to Earth?
Man.
Did we even come from Earth? Were we on Mars at this point?
I was thinking while I was watching this, right? I was like, how are they going to reveal this? Is it going to be that, the aliens have seized control of a major city? Or have they taken people away? Mm-hmm. Maybe that was answered early on and I just didn't remember. But eventually they do show us, right? They show us I don't know what to call it, the floating disc that all of our players are living on, right? So
flat Earth, yep.
Yeah.
Is it a ship, essentially? Spaceship?
That's what it looked like to me, was a ship.
Yeah.
With a little force field around it.
Yeah, there is a force field. There is some kind of technology that they're housed on top of, whether it's a ship or a station that is staying still. I guess it doesn't matter too much, but they are on some piece of technology. I don't know, man. I was watching this and eventually I started thinking, is this the kind of shit that the Alex Jones type believe? That this is actually going on?
Lizard people, bro.
There's lizard people in control.
Korey, you're a flat Middle Earth believer. Don't act like you don't believe in conspiracy theories. You stand flat Middle Earth.
Look, I was looking at a lot of Middle Earth maps, and I was like, I'm pretty sure Middle Earth is meant to be flat. I'm a flat Middle Earther, but I'm not a flat Earther.
Okay, so you say.
I'm okay with a fictional land being flat, okay?
I don't know why, because I watched Aliens recently too, and it always bothers me in movies when the airlock is broken out in outer space and everyone just doesn't die instantly, because that's exactly what would happen. You know what I mean? If there was a hole in the space station or something. But I'm glad that they had the little force field element, because it's okay, they thought of that. Within this force field, things are contained, and I like how characters float off into space, because that is the most terrifying thing in the world. I think it's a really interesting way for a character to die.
Have you ever seen a shitty movie called Event Horizon, Pap?
That's a brilliant film.
I have not.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll put it this way. It's shitty in a lot of ways, but there's some brilliant scenes. What you just described, it takes that to the max. Being floating out in space, and it's horrifying.
I was thinking of Treasure Planet when the guy floats away, but yeah.
Same movie, basically.
Yeah.
Basically, exactly. Before we kind of get to talking the ending of this film, is there anything else you guys want to bring up? Besides your hatred of Kiefer Sutherland, Pap?
He's not great.
No, he's awful.
I honestly think Christopher Lloyd would be a more interesting choice, because the character of what's his name? Okay, what is it? Dr. Daniel
Schreiber.
He's supposed to be a little zany, you know what I mean? And I think that's what Kiefer Sutherland was going for with the shortness of breath and the weird way that he talks. This is the movie's only chance to sort of inject some levity would be this character, right? And I don't think there's any comedy in this movie at all, right? Not that it needs it.
That's what it was missing.
But yeah, there's no, at no point, I'm not saying it has to be slapstick humor, but some levity, and I feel like that could come from just the quirkiness or eccentricness of this Doctor character, but Kiefer Sutherland just does not do it for me in that role.
Yeah, he plays it too crazy. It's too much. Goes full crazy. To be honest, I'd rather that part of just being played straight if that's the way they were going to do it. It's just, I don't know, you're totally right in Kiefer Sutherland. It's just, he brings the movie down a bit, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
Just a tad.
Just a little bit,
Ellis,
yeah.
what did you make of kind of the twist of him injecting him with the other needle? But not just that, but kind of Kiefer Sutherland doing the Remember Your Training Daniel-san bit as as we're kind of going through all of Rufus Sewell's memories.
Oh yeah, and is that when Kiefer Sutherland injects himself into his memories? And
He implants himself into the memories. Yeah.
It was fine. It got our protagonist out of a sticky situation, but I don't know. I think it was a bit out of the blue, to be honest.
I actually like that. I thought that was like a cool way to explain it within the context of this movie. You know, with how a lot of it is based on like memory implants, and that's how like people know things about their own lives. You did mention that the tuning ability that the hero has, like he has a little too much control of it early on, right? And I agree with that. But to get like master level control, he gets implanted with memories of like being trained of how to use it throughout his whole life. Mm-hmm. And I think that's good by itself, if only he hadn't had been so good prior. Because he does use it like pretty well before that. Like it's not like out of control. Like he uses it successfully to do things that he intends to do, or maybe it's reflex, whatever you want it to be. But I do like the memory Mr. Miyagi training shit.
All right, what about Robin Williams as the
Oh.
Kiefer Sutherland character? Like, and not genie Robin Williams. We're not going full cocaine manic. Like a little bit more pulled back, but a character with more heart. You know what I mean? Someone with a little bit more. I don't know.
I think
the
that would have
right
been
energy level.
really good, Pap.
Robin Williams with a beard.
Yeah,
And
Jumanji
a
style.
limp. And a limp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. I feel like that would have been really, really good. Just anybody but Kiefer Sutherland, I guess. But I mean, you guys already brought up the Harry Potter wand magic fight.
Ugh.
That's
It's the roughest part of the movie. Without
it's
without
rough,
doubt.
man. Like
It sucks.
What it reminds me of is the fight in Revolutions, Matrix Revolutions, you know, at the end with Neo and Agent Smith where they're flying about and there's hundreds of Agent Smiths on the floor. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, I try to forget about that moment.
yeah, not the highest point.
Dude, the more we're talking about this, the more I'm thinking the whole tuning thing is just the worst part of this movie.
If it
because-
doesn't need to be in there at all, Pappy, you're dead on. Like, if you just get rid of that, or don't give John Murdoch the tuning,
it doesn't change the movie.
Yeah.
Much better, like, this guy waking up, not knowing if he's a murderer or not, where the hell am I? I'm on a spaceship. That's enough. He doesn't need the extra powers as well.
Well, how does he defeat the villains at the end in this proposed version? Like, what does he use?
I think it's one of those things where he doesn't win. It's more of a discovery.
Okay, so like the eerie kind of ending where he realizes the truth, but he's fucked.
I think it'd be much stronger to have a bleaker outlook with an actual ending that makes sense versus the whole, you know, you're the chosen one tuning type deal. I think just discovering you're on a floating rock and you're not on Earth and kind of just giving in to, you know, here's what reality is would be a lot stronger.
Yeah. It's almost like the only reason that they gave him powers was to facilitate that happy ending, right? Like, or semi-happy ending where he can now control the universe. It's almost like they had to add all this other bullshit in the back too, because that's another problem with it too. Yeah, you called it like a Harry Potter like magic blast battle, and I guess the thing with the knife is okay, but it doesn't connect at all thematically to like everything else that's happening in the movie, right? And what the movie wants you to think about, like consciousness, memories, individualism. It's just two dudes shouting at each other with like these sound waves coming out. It's so ridiculous. Yeah, I hate that part of the movie.
Korey, how do we end this movie with all Truman Show and whatnot? After we defeat our bad guys at what looks like a raging nightclub in the Matrix.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the hero, after he becomes the one, right, he has the ability to create anything within this Matrix-like environment. He decides to create the false memory that he was implanted with of this beach with sunlight. This whole movie is set at night, by the way. It is called Dark City, after all. But he creates the beach. He adds water. He adds an ocean. He adds the sun. And I feel like he's going to be kind of like the new creator of this land, right? That's going to be his role. The strangers were controlling everyone. They were doing experiments on everyone. he's now in control, and I think he's just gonna like let people live a normal, happy life, you know, and give them what he can within the confines of this world that they're stuck in. I think that's it. It's still not the most happy ending, right? Because people were still, I guess, abducted from Earth or maybe somewhere else and brought here, and they still have to live here. But I think what he's going to give humanity is a normal life.
But aren't there still more strangers milling about on the planet? Do they all die?
Do they all work as a hive? Is it not if the lead...
Oh, if you kill the queen,
Yeah.
you kill them all? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But surely there's like a space shrimp who's like steering this rock, right? Like a little captain space shrimp who's like steering the boat.
Pepe from the
or
Muppets.
whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's got to be like more of them around, I would think. A crew.
I mean, I think it's kind of that thing, though. You're right, where it's just kill the queen, kill them all. But before we get into yes or no's, any last thoughts?
What's happening at the end? Is there a shot where like water's just coming out of the space rock? You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I vaguely remember that, yeah.
What is that? Is he's just making so much water that it's spilling out? Is that why that's happening? I was confused.
I think the beach is beyond the city. So like he expands the area in which they live, and like just outside of it is now the beach.
Okay, let's get into yes or no's, and let's start with Pappy.
Definite hard yes for Dark City. Once again, Brother Ellis, thanks for coming on the podcast. Make sure everyone goes to YouTube and subscribes to Total Movie Recall. I think we've redeemed our friends across the Atlantic, so that was a relief.
I hope so, man.
Yeah,
It's been hanging over our head.
we're back.
UK is being redeemed.
It's no longer bad and ugly over there. But great pick. I like when we bring attention to movies like this. This movie wouldn't have been on my radar at all without you picking it, Ellis. I feel like my tone was a little bit negative in the movie because it's one of those things too where when you start to discuss it, not everything maybe holds up as well.
It's got problems.
And there's some there's weaker parts in the story, but it's harder to go on and on about the production design and cinematography, which are both just absolutely A+ outstanding. It's a very interesting world to be in. Very reminiscent of other movies like we mentioned, Batman '89, Blade Runner, even some Seven vibes, just with the overall darkness of everything. So I was never bored while watching this. I wish the story was a little bit better. And this is also another one that I think that could be remade or something, or like a Netflix, HBO limited run where you flush this out in 10 episodes. And the first episode and a half is just the character waking up while everything's paused. And we more slowly parse out that information without the big exposition dumps this movie has to have. But hard yes, I really, really like this movie. Thanks again for picking it, Brother Ellis. And thanks for being a Patreon. It really means a lot to us.
Yeah, no worries, man.
We're glad you're here.
I'm a big fan. I'm a fan before anything else.
Even though you change subscription tiers. We don't hold that against you.
Yeah.
We love staunchers too.
Yeah, we love those too.
No, I'll get back. I just haven't been in work for a while, guys. I swear down. I'll get back to being a stauncher.
When the YouTube channel takes off, just don't forget about us. Consider being a rock hard once you get your million.
Oh mate, the aim's for going rock hard. Definitely.
All right, Korey.
Okay, I'm going to give this movie a yes as well, because this movie is cool, right? This movie has a very unique sense of style. Maybe not wholly unique, but it has a sense of style. And I like how this movie reveals information about what's going on underneath the surface as we go through it. The actors, I don't think, are super memorable, and I think the characters are a little bit hollow, but I think that's intentional because of the memory wipe thing. So these are like shells of human beings, right? So I think that's acceptable in the movie. There are things that don't make sense in this. Maybe if I watched both cuts, everything would kind of line up, but it doesn't seem like it based on this discussion we're having. I'll just say this, that the concept is cool enough, the style is cool enough, and I was engaged within the 90 minutes that it runs. So I think it's a pretty good movie. I would have definitely liked it a lot more when I was younger, and I acknowledge and appreciate that. That's a big component as well. So I'm going to give it a yes. That's all I got to say.
Decent.
Sorry, two more things real quick, Stevie. Thank you for steering the ship during your flu game, by the way. Stevie puked earlier today. Puked and rallied for this podcast.
Trying,
so
man.
good job. Second thing, I wish the score was better. I wish this had, we were talking about Thief before this, I wish this had like a synth score to it, or just something like more memorable. Like I don't remember any part of the score from this movie.
Maybe that's the whole point, Pap.
I forgot it. Like the characters forget stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, right. I'll say, Pappy, Trevor Jones, who did the Labyrinth score, did this score as well. So I expected like some kind of like very memorable or accurate to the style synth score to go along with this, but I watched the movie, and like you, I didn't remember anything about the music whatsoever. I couldn't remember a beat. So.
There's not like a solid motif within the film. It's all just a bit washed out. Score's a bit anything.
Which is a shame, too, when you have this great of production design and cinematography. You could just have like those shots with the music, and that's all you need.
Alrighty, and last but not least, actually, I'll go first, and we'll do Brother Ellis. What I'll say is, I'll give this movie a hard yes, just because I feel like it's incredibly influential, and it has a ton of concepts going for it. And I really, really like how it started off with the murder mystery angle. It just kind of has that problem that a lot of movies do with a lot of concepts, is there's a lot of rules. And with one rule comes another rule, and with two comes four. And there's a lot of rules in this movie. And sometimes they just don't make sense. But I love the set design. Love the cinematography. I know it's called Dark City, but I actually really like how dark it is. And I like how it has, 100 reveals per minute. So I'll give this movie a hard yes. And last but not least, Brother Ellis.
Definite yes from me. I really like this movie. I think the ideas it's going for are big, and it doesn't necessarily get there. But I appreciate the heights that it's trying to reach. And I think, like a lot of films in the 90s, this is a film that I'd definitely recommend to someone. Like, the story's not amazing, but I think it's something that you've got to see. It's different to most 90s films that came out, from most films that I've seen from the 90s. I think this one was trying to go places. Whether it got there is debatable. I think the acting's solid for the most part. I think when it reaches the hour mark, that's where I think everything sort of gets a little bit, a bit more fast-paced. The first half of the film is quite slow, quite noir, but I really like this movie, and I think more people need to see it, definitely. Hard yes.
Preserved. Patreon pick.
Fab, you got some trivia for us?
Yeah, so once again, before I say trivia, this wouldn't be spoilers without trivia. Thank you to Brother Ellis for coming on. Everybody, please go like and subscribe to Total Movie Recall.
Please.
And then also just a quick announcement. Spoilerman doesn't mention this. Please review us on Spotify, too. You can't leave a review, but it's just stars. So trying to get those up a little bit. But like I said, this wouldn't be spoilers without trivia. I knew you were hurting today, Stevie, because you drank milk.
I didn't drink milk, man.
Yourself.
I don't know what's going on.
So I prepared a trivia. Sure. The winner of this trivia will get the greatest prize of all, like 30 seconds in the winner's circle or whatever, and get to toss to Spoiler Man. Brother Ellis, would you like to participate in this trivia? I'm hoping so.
Yeah, let's go for it, man.
All right. This is going to be a good old-fashioned closest to No Price is Right rules. Whoever's closest is closest. Thinking about memories and the human brain, according to the Scientific American, what is the memory capacity of the human brain? Like, for example, the hard drive that I have that all of the Spoilers episodes are on is 2 terabytes. What is the storage capacity? You can use whatever unit of that you want, megabytes, gigabytes, etc. But what is the storage capacity of the human brain? Korey, we'll start with you.
So I'm going in megabytes, gigabytes, or terabytes?
Whatever you want. It maybe more.
What's more than a terabyte? I should know this.
Petabyte. PETA. Byte.
Well, I don't want to say that, so I'm going to say 1,000 terabytes.
Okay. Hold on. This will all be edited out. Don't worry. Okay. 1,000 terabytes. Stevie?
Accessible or just total?
Total.
Ah, bastard. I'll say,
I'm talking about RAM here. I'm talking about total storage.
total storage, I'll say 5 terabytes.
5 terabytes?
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, from Total Movie Recall, Patreon member, Brother Ellis.
Right, so I know the trick here. It's to follow Stevie. So I'm going to go... I'll go... $10 terabytes, round it off.
Damn.
Okay. You guys are off by a lot. So 1,000 terabytes is 1 petabyte. The human brain can store 2.5 petabytes.
Jesus
so 2,500
Christ.
terabytes worth of data.
I was giving us too much credit.
How much is accessible?
I don't know. I'm just going off the Google page.
Wow.
Depends on the person, I guess.
Yeah. For me, who are we talking about here? Me or Steve in a debate? But Korey, you are the closest, only off by a factor of 150%. Take it away.
Ooh, that's it. Well, I'll just say this has been a fun podcast, and thank you so much, Ellis,
Yeah,
for
no
joining
worries,
us.
man.
You've been like a long-time online friend, and I'm glad that we got to do this podcast together, and I want us to do more podcasts together on Big Dumb Movie and here too.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's been an absolute pleasure working with you in person.
I just want to say as well, like, you guys are awesome. You do an amazing job. I just want to get that out there. Like, I listen to you guys every single day while I'm at work, so this has been a bit weird. I've been a bit nervous, but thanks for having us on.
Oh, you're welcome back literally anytime.
Oh, cheers, guys.
And I wouldn't say that unless I meant. I didn't say it to the other British people. I'm saying it to
Redeemed!
you. I mean it. Definitely. Yeah. Anytime you want to do a movie, you're welcome to come spoil it.
Oh, brilliant. Cheers, man.
That's about it. Thank you guys very much for listening. Take it away, Spoiler Man.
Special thank you to our patrons, Matt Troll.
Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it.
Brother Brian.
Send 2 units. They're bringing her down now.
No, Lieutenant, your men are already dead.
Druid King.
I'm trying to free your mind, Neo, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
Nick.
No one has ever done anything like this.
That's why it's going to work.
The Meg.
Do not try and bend the spoon. That's impossible. Instead, only try to realize the truth.
What truth?
There is no spoon.
David.
There is no spoon?
Then you'll see that it is not the spoon that bends. It is only yourself.
Nurse Stacy.
To deny our own impulses is to deny the very thing that makes us human.
The Wolf.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Barky 420.
Wow, that sounds like a really good deal. But I think I got a better one. How about I give you the finger and you give me my phone call?
Davey Kerr.
You ever have that feeling where you're not sure if you're awake or still dreaming?
If you'd like to request an episode, hear your name read by Spoiler Man, or even just help us make podcasts, please check us out on patreon.com/spoilerspodcast. Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is podcast spoilers. It's lit. Josh Hensley from the Rutabaga wrote our theme song. Please support this podcast by leaving us an iTunes review. To do this, 1. Search for movie spoilers. 2. Click on our orange Spoilers Bowl logo and scroll all the way to the bottom. 3. Leave us some stars and some words. Now you can check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, Apple, and Google Podcasts.
Guys, I'm going to have to go. I need to take my dogs out. Nice meeting. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.
That was Spoilers.